All right, so let's get into our backgrounds a little bit, and let's not try to an ego stroke thing. But we want to kind of give you guys an understanding of like where we came from, how we got there, and so yeah, Sean, give me because I don't know this either. When did you actually start learning martial arts, and do you remember why, and how old you are, and all that stuff?
Yeah, boy, this is gonna be like a flashback for me. I was 19. I had a friend of mine who went to school down in the Bronx. And we were down there visiting him one time on a Saturday night, and there may have been some alcohol involved, but a little bit of a fight broke out.
Oh boy!
And it was fun. It was like exciting.
Yeah.
You know, I was 3 guys, 3 versus 2. I was on the 2 part. I sucked up the first. I took the sucker punch and hit the ground and grappling around with this guy, and I had a rear naked choke, and I thought I was hot shit, laying there on the ground, and a car pulled up, 4 more guys jumped out, and they proceeded to beat the shit out of me while I held this guy in a rear naked choke. And then another friend came along and dragged my ass up, and and it was like, that was great, We went out to breakfast, 2 a.m., the whole
Telling
thing.
stories, talking about,
and then probably halfway through the drunken breakfast, and I was like, man, my ear started to hurt, and my eye was swollen, and like blood was dripping out of my nose, and my lips were fat, and I kept biting my lip as I was eating my eggs, and then when I sobered up the next morning, I realized that my face was a mess, and I said, I got to do something about this. If this shit happens again, I'm taking some people with me. So a couple weeks later, there was a martial arts school, Jiu-Jitsu school, about 2 blocks from my house, and I was out for a walk, and I was like, I said, I'll stop in. Class was going on. I walked in there. I said probably watched about 15 minutes of it, and the instructor came over and said, hey, what do you think? And I was just like, babe, sign me up, man. He said, give me the clipboard. I signed up. I wrote out a check. He said, come back on Friday night. We'll have a gi for you. And I showed up, and I've been a total addict ever since.
Ever since, nice. Very cool.
Can't stop.
I never knew that story. I think I've heard parts of it, but never knew the whole thing. So
yeah, I don't normally share all that.
Yeah. Well, now the world's gonna know.
Well, yeah. So there's just kind of my own personal experience, but probably next to marrying my wife and having my kids, and that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. So sometimes good things come out of bad situations.
Right.
Like that. So
absolutely. So yeah, how I got started was I started off actually like wrestling in high school. I was a shitty wrestler, and then started doing a little bit of karate with a buddy of mine, and then just really kind of kept doing martial arts through that with a lot of different martial arts from when I was in did a little taekwondo, hapkido, college, a little kickboxing, but I always liked the grappling arts. When I came back, I started working at a club. That's when I really discovered jiu-jitsu, and that was probably around like 96, 97. And with a bunch of different places, but that was it. Once I discovered jiu-jitsu, it was like this is what I want to do, and haven't really stopped since then. Do you remember? So you were looking. Why did you start? Was the getting to that fight thing that you wanted like now? But was it just something about that what made you like? It just kind of felt.
Yeah, I think it was just being in that position. Like all of a sudden, I had the guy in a rear naked choke, but I had absolutely no knowledge of what the hell I was doing. That was just pure instinct.
Right.
It was like just grab the guy and control.
And hold on him.
And I did, and that's and then when the other guys came up and the fight broke out. But I think that next point I said, if something like this is going to happen again, and it very well might, then I want to be prepared.
Sure.
So that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
And nothing like that has happened since. There's been instances where I've used jiu-jitsu. People have kind of pissed me off, and I've warned them a little bit, and then
as a control type of thing.
And then it happens, and then I always feel bad because then it's like, shit. All right, And when I think back, I'm like, all right, what, they deserved it, but it wasn't me. It wasn't for me to dish that out.
I always say jiu-jitsu gives you the power to control, break, or kill. And sometimes in the recent years I've used jiu-jitsu, it's always been to like control. It's a little, jiu-jitsu's aggressive. It hurts sometimes, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's like, hey, you can also do it without hurting someone in a really, really, really bad way.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I just elbow someone in the face because they're getting a little out of line, that's a big difference than, get your ass on the ground and calm down. So yeah, how you and I got together was through Kobukai Jiu-Jitsu, which for the background is you why don't you kind of give a quick breakdown of the lineage and stuff like that.
Okay,
You are
so,
definitely better at that stuff than I am.
I began training in early 1985 at this place called Aiki Budokai in Danbury, Connecticut. And when I was there, there was Russ St. Hilaire, who's now Shihan.
Yeah, my main teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was, I think he had gotten his black belt somewhere there at the end of 80. Now I get confused with the dates. Anyway, he had started training. I started training early in the year, and he had just gotten promoted at some point at that point. And so that's how I got to know him. And then as he was moving around, traveling around, you know where he was, because he would always have.
He did a lot of training.
He did a lot of training, and he would train in his garage.
Yeah.
So he'd be like, hey, I'm living in Seymour right now. I'd be like, all right, cool, man. Come down. If I had a free night, I'd shoot down and train. And then he ended up in Glastonbury, and so I stopped up. And at that time, you were a student there. So then we got to know each other, bashes, and then you opened up here.
Right.
Had some bashes, and then when we started training in.
Shit, I don't know. 5, 6, I don't know.
Yeah, years ago. But a couple years ago when you were doing Defense Lab, and then you had invited me for, Mike and John were here.
Right, we did the seminar.
Yeah, right. There was the little seminar, and I came down with some of my guys, and I just loved it. I was like, holy shit, like this. And
you kind of saw the same idea of like this, there's some cool concepts here that we could integrate. It made jiu-jitsu show up in different ways that were like.
Well, when Matt and I were talking, we ended up realizing we had the same question. It was like, all right, jiu-jitsu was great, but if the guy's throwing a punch and he's 3 feet away from me and I'm outside here, how do I get from point A to point B? How do I close the line and make my jiu-jitsu work without getting hit? And that just like, as soon as I saw that, I mean, my guys were laughing at me when we were driving the truck. They're just like, yeah, like what is your problem? Because I was just like, holy shit, like this is it. This is freaking. This is the answer we've been looking for the whole freaking time.
Getting in
all these years. And that fast, hard striking, and I just loved it. And then
I got to pay a lot of respects to Andy Norman Defense Lab for that, because their creativity and innovation and using those, their shaping and the framing that we use a lot in Tri-Tac is truly innovative, and I really do respect and appreciate that, because it has opened up a world of ideas that we now use in Tri-Tac and Tri-Tac Jitsu, and so it is a really great concept. So continue,
and so since then, and that was whatever 2.5 years ago, or 3 years.
I think 3.5 years ago, 4.
And then ever since then, and Matt was having classes on Wednesday mornings. I was coming up with Dave for 6 a.m. class, and we were getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be here for a 6 a.m.
We had a lot of good training then.
And ever since then, I've been a weekly visitor here, and we've been hanging out and training
it's
and
been a good
incorporating concepts and trying different things. And the last couple of years have been increased my training and my thought process and where I'm heading like exponentially. I can't even think back to where I was 3 years ago before.
Isn't that crazy?
All this.
Isn't that
all
crazy?
this started.
How things have rapidly changed and grown. It's like I don't have a new. I don't know. This new. I mean, you still. It's always martial arts. You're always learning. You're always growing up. It gives you this new like. It's very. That's what I like about the concept of Tri-Tech overall, minus anything else. Like it's a very exploratory concept. You know what I mean? Like you can really using all these different concepts and ideas and the people who are involved and feeding off each other and feeding off the students allows it to be a very dynamic, creative, system that you can like. Does it work? Let's find out how can we make this work. And I love that concept.
Yeah.
It's just,
and I think from an instructor's standpoint, as much as I want to be able to keep training, but I'm always looking for a way to get my students to be better, faster.
And that's ultimately it, because that is our so they
that's
are
our goal.
They're our goal because they are, from a business perspective, they're our product, right? Or they are the result of our
Yes.
But it's that's my passion, is actually making them better, like, and actually seeing it, like. Right. That's my favorite fucking thing in the world.
That's that feeling of success when you see people getting it, and you're like,
and quicker
and quicker.
Like I think we now are producing better. Like I was using general term fighters, producing better fighters in martial arts they were producing before.
Yes.
And they're doing it quicker than they were before. I look at my white belts and blue belts now, and I know they will kick the shit out of myself or other, at a white to blue belt range. I mean, like, no, when I look, I'm like, that's a fucking white belt. I'm like, fucking A, good for him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
night after night. I mean, I've got guys. Here we are, February 28th of 2017, and I have guys that have signed up just within the last 2 months. So some guys might have 8 weeks of training, some might have 6, some might have 4. And I look at these guys and I go, when I was at that level, when I was a white belt at that level, I wasn't shit. I mean, these guys they are learning so much. Last night, I just watched, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I sit there with the timer and I watch them, I'm like, holy shit, like I can't believe how freaking good they are
I know.
in 8 weeks.
It's incredible. I love
Absolutely
it.
incredible.
Love it.